I sent you another trade. Sent you a counteroffer.
I got it. I got it. And with that, here we are at the Fantasy Trail. I'm Matt, along with Mike. No JT this week.
No, JT. JT's traveling up north. We understand. Hello, JT. Please make sure to tune in, though, whether you're traveling or not, at some point over the week.
No, he's not really traveling. He's sitting in his bedroom. He just didn't want to come on because you crushed him.
It would be a good week for him. It would be a good week for him to miss it. I can't wait to have my chicken and rice casserole off of the school lunch bet. It's delicious right now. I just can't wait. And plus, they'll give me the crusty, cheesy top. I love it.
Can I ask? Did you have the turkey and dressing at Highland?
Yes, I did.
How did it compare to Boone Trail?
I think Boone Trail's was better, but I thought it was pretty solid.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty solid. And I've been regularly bringing my lunch, and I thought it was pretty good. But Boone Trails is famous, but you can't catch me on YouTube here dissing out my current employer here, buddy.
The Thanksgiving lunch at school was, one of my favorite lunches of the year.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they had it before I beat JT. If they had it yesterday, I would have gladly said that JT paid for that one. But it would already happen last week, so I didn't have any room there, Tamala.
All right. Let's get into the recap from last week. First, we're going to start out with Jake. Cruising to a very comfortable win over Rachel, 120 to 111. This was a very interesting week for Jake. He only got 1 point from his kicker. He got 0 points from his defense. 2 points from, and he still put up a 120.
Yeah. I think maybe we're just starting to see like the contenders and the pretenders. The Jake's team, is one of the more strong teams we've ever seen. The Rams have paid off for him before, but it just wasn't. It wasn't going to be that week. Went up against a really, really tough defense. Eddie Lacy, I would be just about done with him, period, forever. As the Packers were. I still think it's an incredibly strong team. He put Amendola in there, which not that he has too much a choice of who to play, but Amendola hasn't been too strong, but had a great week last week.
And then Rachel, she didn't have a terrible week. Brait hurt her with only 1.7. Crowell only a 1.8. And the Broncos.
But McCoy really paid off for her on such a disappointing week for the Bills.
It bothers her that Tyrod outscored Matt Ryan, and she had Tyrod on her bench.
By 1/10 of a point?
Yep. Okay, so
I think that's the least of her concerns.
Is Tyrod playing this week?
The latest reports say yes, and there's some inside information, and I'm going to speak a little bit on this during the hot take, but there is some information, Matt, that some of these decisions were not necessarily just the head coaches either, that some of this came down from higher up, and anytime I think that they're meddling, whether it be ownership and even GMs, it's usually a poor choice.
Yeah. Look, I've said it with Rachel's team. She's had some bad luck. I honestly, I think Jordan Reed's going to be out for the rest of the year.
I would bet on that one.
And then,
I consider Brait to be a capable backup.
Now, with Brait, once Winston comes back, I think Brait will be much better.
I noticed she didn't play Bill's defense.
Smart.
Rachel, kid, I love you. I have a little bit of dependence here on the Bills. Shady McCoy really did put out for you. Listen, your score was 111.
Not a bad score.
Not a bad score at all. Not a bad score at all. And anytime, my deal is that 100 sounds low, but I always say once bye weeks come into account, anything above 105, I think you're pretty good.
Would that have been top?
Hold on, I can
Uh,
check right now. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I think she'd be fifth.
uh, seventh. Just
Oh no,
missed the
no,
top
never
half.
mind. I didn't scroll up. I didn't see Michael, and that's my. I made an error there. Okay, seven. She would
But
have beat
she
me.
missed it by a point or two, so not a
Yeah,
terrible score. Tough break, but I mean,
it's hard. It's hard with someone like her with a with the score and where she is in the standings. In order for her to be viable for the playoffs, she kind of had to light it up a little bit.
you know, um, going forward, I think Jake is the most dangerous team in the league.
Oh, listen. I'm completely there with you, and we'll discuss this during the rankings. I had a reason that where I placed Angela compared to Jake, and I feel that each one of us has a viable argument for that one.
All right, moving on. We
Yes,
have
sir.
Joelle losing to Brian, 6-113. Although, I will say this. Brian did not bench his entire team like he threatened to. Um, so I would be a little
I'm
upset if I was
curious to
Joelle.
see where he is in the composite rankings after this. Look, I think Brian has a solid team. His players seem to show up, and Joel's players just seem to not show up. At right, I mean, I'm looking at a lot of single digits here. I don't know. You have guys like Murray, where one week it's on, next week it's off. Sammy Watkins, I would have dropped him a long time ago, just like the Bills did.
um, Joelle didn't have any spectacular games. Graham looks really good for her. Jones coming back.
Yeah.
You know, I think her biggest letdown was the Chiefs, though. I mean, you know all about that.
Well, I do. And in looking at the Chiefs right now, they're just one of those teams who seems, in general, to have started off. There was a point in the year where if you would have asked me who is the best team in the NFL, I would have said it was the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is where Mike got it wrong. It's clearly the Eagles. I know Tamala isn't here for this one right now. He's dealing with something. One of the things to look forward that I will say with Joel's team is this. With the letdown of Rodgers, she's hung tough. She's hung tough. She's been in there. She's been in most of her games. And this is losing your top dog, similar to me, where I lose my top dogs and I have not hung tough. So I'll give credit where credit is due right there. Jimmy Graham had a great game.
And she was playing without her top two receivers.
Okay.
Um,
Which is
I mean, if
Milton
I was,
Anderson, which is strange to me, but that's fine. It is strange, dude.
yeah, looks like Wes is just taking up a bench spot. He was a healthy scratch, so she might want to think about that. And it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see
it's
what
like the
happens with Watkins.
Baltimore backfield is just meh.
Um, Brian,
I'll tell you, she kept a kicker.
yeah,
She's rolling with two kickers. Not that I should be throwing any shade. Well, let's
but
move to Brian here. Kirk Cousins is coming on very, very strong towards the end of the year, just like he did last year.
we'll see if
I mean,
her.
the team took the L. By the way, for any of you who did not see that game, you have a potential argument for me that was the game of the year. That was an incredible matchup. Take it away, Tamala.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's like I've said along with Brian. He's got a lot of his flex spots. Quite know who's going to come. They're all solid. Aguilar was the big
They are.
letdown, but especially with that.
Aguilar was the big letdown, but consider for a second, it's just one of these deals where put Ezekiel Elliott back in the mix here, and very possibly Aguilar is the one who got the chop there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Brian teams look without Elliott. But
I mean, there's a pretty good argument for me that he's the best running back in football. I'm not a fan of him personally, but you have an argument for me that he's one that looks he's top 5.
yeah, but I mean, my whole thing with Brian's team is he's got to be perfect on his flex calls every week. They're all capable of putting up 20 points, 15, 20 points, but they're also capable of putting up 4 to 5 points.
Yeah.
I'm sure you pick the right matchups each week.
And Aguilar's a tough one. The team looked really, really, your Eagles looked really, really good, and just no looks from them. You know what I mean? Just nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, Wentz looks good. That offense was moving the ball. They were just crushing it. I mean, I don't think that there's too many arguments right now that the Eagles are the best team in the NFL, and one of their receivers just nothing.
Yep. All right. Moving on, we have Angela losing to 87 to 136. Rich did put up the high score of the week. Anytime you get 37 points from a player. But you know what? He has Kenny Stills on his bench, and while that may not always seem like a good thing, I think as long as you have Matt Moore playing, Kenny Stills is a good play. So I guess it'll depend on if Cutler play this week.
Well, and that's what I'll say is that if I were the Dolphins, I'd move on from Cutler at this point. But I'm, of course, not running the team. I think Stills is definitely a play. It certainly gives him depth. Now, on Angie's side, the -1.2 or -1 and 2/10 points from Dak. What do you say about that, Tamala?
Yeah, I mean, that hurts. But I think what really hurts her was the Shepherd. And I'll say this. She didn't have anyone on her bench who put up a better score, put in Hooper late. Nothing would have made a difference.
How much time? So, I mean, I just have a quick question about that because I pretend I'm forgetting it. It was a 1 o'clock Sunday game, right?
Yeah.
He was out at the beginning.
It was at least by 11 they announced it.
So it was one of the ones that if you would watch fantasy football now or even log in within an hour before the game, you would have known that he wasn't it.
Well, I mean, don't you usually check your lineup right before kickoff?
Oh, I check it so many times, Matt, and I change it, and I listen to those idiots at Fantasy Focus now. And then what I'm doing is benching the guys I was going to play and end up losing the game. Yeah, oh, absolutely. I listen to the podcast of it. I have it on my car radio as I'm driving, on my Sirius XM. Oh, I listen to it religiously. You don't see me playing players who are injured. You just see me making poor choices.
So, I mean, look. It was a rough week for Ange. Anytime your quarterback puts up negative points, you're probably not going to win.
Yeah.
But you know what? With having a quarterback put up negative points, she still put up, basically 90.
A 0 and a minus and negative points, and you're still getting a 90.
Yeah.
Listen, but this is where, we were discussing use of the waiver wire or just, being on top of it and how that could really, really, really help her team.
But now, okay, so this is my whole problem with Ange. I don't think he's going to play again this week. And the fact that they're calling it a migraine, I almost think he's going to be diagnosed with a concussion and be out for the season. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. Alan Hearns probably going to.
Alan Hearns predicted as a no. She could play Bernard. Forte's on a bye.
No, there's no
Forte was on a bye. She could play. Okay, so she could play Forte and Hearns. I think she has potential to win every week. It depends. There are a couple of factors here. Does Ingram and Hopkins still have their production?
Yeah, I mean her flex is really hurting her.
Well, Howard's pretty good, man.
Yeah, I don't think.
It's inconsistent. It's inconsistent, but he could light it up any given week.
But I think She's made moves just to get enough players on the field. And now I think she has the bye locked up, thinking about making moves for the future for the playoffs, if she wants to stay in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's going to be. She's. It's hard to see her with the current system right now being moved out of that number one spot in that division. It's
No,
very difficult.
She's got it locked up, but I could also see her being bounced that first week.
Well, I mean, that's what we're saying. So, Ange, if you're listening here, get on that waiver wire, make some decisions, maybe get a trade going. Do something to make sure, because what you don't want is to be in the position where that very first week you're out and you're playing a team that's hungry and people who are really watching every single move.
All right. Moving on.
Yes, sir.
We got Casey losing to Michael, 95 to 113.
Michael's team is solid. I'm looking at Casey's team here. Beyond Leah, beyond Bell, who didn't have his best week, I'm sorry to say. Also, New came through. The team is just kind of meh. Carr really has just had an off year, isn't performing. I'm not going to say he isn't who we thought he was, but you go ahead and take it away, Matt.
Yeah. Look, if Casey had a decent tight end all year, he'd probably be in a better shape.
That could be the case, even though he traded one away.
And I don't know why he has the Redskins defense on his team, and it looks like it might be time to drop the Seahawks, just with all their injuries.
Yeah, I mean, the Legion of Boom is down to one person at this point. It's just not the same team you could throw on them. Atlanta showed it. Atlanta clearly showed it last night.
Now, Michael had a lot of buys this week. Indy away, but he took some bad injury hits. He's been real solid for Michael. And then what's the latest on Benjamin?
I haven't heard anything as of now. I know he was removed shortly from the game. I'm going to find out right now. Look, here's what I'm going to say about Michael's team in general. I know we were throwing some shade last week on it, and Michael really, really did make some solid points that many of his bye weeks were consumed within that very first week, and I do understand that. And I kind of also go with Bill Parcells, and this is until we develop a different or a more progressive scoring system, is just the idea that you are what your record says you are. Look, Michael Thomas is 8-3 and nipping on Jake's heels right now. That's what he is.
I don't want to say I was throwing shade at Michael. We did bring up the point, but I'll say about Michael, he like no one else.
He works the waiver wire. He picks up players. He drops players. He follows the lead. And because of that, on these given weeks, he is able to sometimes outperform the next guy. He's 8-3. He's nipping at Jake's heels. Listen, I tell you this, and I'm not exactly sure how the tiebreakers are all going to go down when all is said and done. But as of right now, it certainly isn't impossible for Michael Thomas to get a bye week.
No, it's not.
And if I ever do any type of rankings or anything like that, if you have a bye week, you're at least number 2 in my book. I'm sorry to say. It matters.
So then, yeah.
I mean, the team is solid, and listen, he makes moves every week that often give him the edge. So here's what we could say. Okay, I understand that he's not putting out a ton of points. With that being said, though, he's managing with the team he has to beat out the next guy 8 out of 3 times.
All right,
there is no luck involved. Moving on.
All right, I lose to Colin. 8 points the email this morning, and I actually had 128.1 to Collins 129.9. Point difference between us. Look, going into Sunday night, I was dead in the water. But Jeffrey and the pulled me close. All that upset about losing.
Well, your team won, and your team looked really, really good on the road.
Look, I'm feeling much better about my receivers. It looks like Cup moves up to the number one.
Yeah.
Jackson looks better. And hopefully I'll have Freeman. Wasn't out with a concussion this week. Probably wouldn't have played Drake.
Well, I also want you to look at this, Matt, and this is the real case right here. Matt, you lose to only, what, 2 teams, right? Breaking up a little bit there, buddy.
Yeah. Some drops.
Jess, get off that Wi-Fi. Tamal, you're breaking up here a little bit. Looks like my feed's okay, buddy. All right here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure 100% that I am still on air. Tamal.
All right. Looks like we are back. Just going to continue to hear me. Team, good work. If he didn't Allen in one of his flex spots, and he would have easily put up the high score of the week. And you know what? If Tyrod coming back, that just looks better for Clay.
Back on. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties, and I apologize.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm getting a little echoing back from my computer, but it just ended.
Okay. No, I was just finishing up talking about the Collins team. It looked solid. Look, and if he had played Keenan Allen, I mean, easily the high score of the week.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kicker and defense leads the way.
I don't know how you would ever drop that Jacksonville defense. And if you would have asked me at the beginning of the year which defense would have by far the highest scores, I would have never in all my life said Jacksonville. Not that they're bad, I just would have never said it.
Yeah. And I think Collins won 2 in a row now. And I honestly I think he is one of I rank him right up there in Jake as teams I wouldn't want to play.
All right. I'm with you on that one, man.
All right, moving on. Last matchup of the week.
well,
I'll let you take this one.
this one is for the ultimate battle of the school lunches here. And I just got myself a nice chicken cheese casserole. Listen, this is one of those ones that I actually thought that when I went to bed on Sunday night, I thought I had this one in the bag. I only watched the first half of Monday Night Football, and I did see that Russell Wilson was scoring quite a few points. He really did light it up. And one of the things I'll just say about the Seahawks in general is I know they lost at home. I know they've taken a couple losses. I never count them out because you have a good coach and a good quarterback. As far as JT's team is concerned, he had a lot of underperforming players. I have Dwarka really coming up as one of my waiver wire picks that finally managed to pan out. I just don't know what else to say. Williams from Green Bay was kind of their only running back in an all-around disappointing game, but still managed to get enough yards and enough catches in check down situations. Listen, JT had Russell Wilson lighting it up. Everyone else on his team besides Gordon pretty well underperformed. I'll take that back. Perrine, and I did comment to this on the group chat. It was good that Chris Thompson came down, but he still had a sarcastic remark right back at me saying, "Oh, yes, my team's doing really well." Well, I mean, you did just get yourself a starting running
Yeah. Look, Hunter Henry, he had a couple of drops. Like anytime they won, the Chargers put up 54 points on the Bills, and he only had 3.5 points.
Burkhead had a fumble as well, and you know how Bill Belichick treats a fumble.
Yeah. Hey, you get Funchess back.
Yes.
You get Ed Dixon back.
Yes.
Now, what do you hear about David Johnson coming back?
As of now, I heard he just got the cast off. I heard they're just starting to rehab the wrist. The problem is the team is, I believe, are they 4-6?
Yeah.
They're not in playoff contention, so I doubt there'll be too much of a rush to bring them back on the field. I wish they'd just tell me so I would know and get them off my IR spot, and I could start using my IR spot a little bit more functionally rather than just stashing away a player.
Well, ideally, that the IR spot was made for the stash away, not to be used.
Well, like a week or whatever, if there's a player who's out.
So what did you think of the news of them releasing Ellington?
Look, I still don't know because you have the Adrian Peterson situation. The only thing I've heard is that it was a brace. Is that the brace came off. And today's the 20th. That was 3 days ago, I believe. Yeah. I could be mistaken. I don't know. To me, it's just like, well, we're taking the brace off and we're starting rehab. And I'm just like, man, I could see him not being back for the year.
Yeah, so could I. It'd be interesting. All right, let's move on.
Sorry, JT, but yes, that's 2 wins, man. Excellent. Let's see these rankings here. I'm more curious the backside of them, Tamala. Take it away, buddy.
Moving on. As it's loading. Okay, these are the standings.
Yeah, I'm getting a loading screen.
Jake is in the lead, 9-2. Michael is only 1 game back with Collins, and I'm 3 games back, sitting in 4th place. Was in 1st place.
Definitely has more of a cushion.
Clearly. But I think overall our Division 1 is much better than Division 2, as you'll see by the ranks.
And what I could say is divisions are going to be one of the things that when we have our meeting that we can discuss. I'm not 100% convinced that they actually need to be there. Go ahead, Matt. What do we have right here? We have outside chance with Casey here. Casey's on a little bit of a skid. He's lost 2 in a row. This has put him behind me, but he does get McCaffrey back, and I understand that. But the fact that Casey lost two games in a row here, and we have the exact same record, puts him behind me, and I like to see this, Tamala. Take it away, sir.
Absolutely, and that's exactly why you moved up to number 11 because you had 1
Yes.
in a row. Look, I'll be honest with you, Scarano. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel great about putting you here. But I was looking at that. You had won 2. Casey had lost 2.
With the same record, man.
All right, moving on. We have Rachel next at 10th. Look, and like we said, Rachel put up right there, almost at the top of it.
And Thalen has just been so solid for her. Listen, she's been on a skid lately. She's been on a skid. Has it been 3 games or 4 games, right?
Yeah.
Listen, she's on a skid. All she needs to do is get a win. I just think that right now, when you start looking at the point totals, it's difficult to see her moving up enough to catch anyone else.
I think it's a little too late for her. I will say she's just crushing it in the daily fantasy.
All right, there you go.
She's just had some bad luck with her team, and
Listen, man, I know that feeling.
All right. Now you notice we skipped to 8th. Now there was a tie for 8th. We actually had 2 ties this week.
Okay.
He lost his team. 106, not a terrible score. But
Russell Wilson, 32 points, man. Russell's just been a stud lately.
And like you said, P. Ryan comes back.
Listen, he's a starting running back right now.
And it actually looks like Damian Williams is a starting running back in. Drake did not look good this past week.
So, you look at JT's team, it looks okay. Again, he's one of the ones who was discussing, and this was true that he said yesterday. He said, I can take a loss from me. Jay's team can take a loss, but again, a 106 in the point totals is a concern for him.
His wife.
Look at that.
Joelle only put up a 96 this week. Her receivers are really, every time we count her out. Robbie Anderson, Hilton coming back, that will only help. Marvin Jones look like a beast. The Chiefs are going to turn it around. And this was probably Forbath's worst game all year.
Yeah, and what could help her, and this would just be something that I'd say is, as I know she often gets attached to some of these guys, like, take your Justin Tucker, for instance. Maybe you could have used that to pull something off the waiver wire, get something in that flex spot instead of Watkins. It's just an idea.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Brian coming in 7th. I'm pretty sure he won't be happy with this ranking, but
I hasn't been happy in a while, my friend.
The top of our division is really the top of the league. It's stacked. We don't have anyone running away with it this year. It's close.
You're saying as soon as you get up into these upper tiers, especially with the new point system for the playoff spot, it's tight.
But look, he had a top score this week with a terrible defense score, a terrible kicker score, and a terrible flex score from Aguilar.
Yeah. And like we were saying earlier, this all changes the minute Ezekiel Elliott's back.
Oh yeah. He just needs to make sure he's still playing for something when Elliott comes back.
Yeah. Which is a distinct possibility that he won't be. No offense, man.
All right. I actually come in 6th. look, I put up the third highest score in the league this week.
Where do you still rank in points, Tamala? That is my question.
I'm still up in points, I believe, by 60 points, 50, 60 points.
Tamala, this is our best example for a more progressive scoring system. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly the one that we're going to be showing later, but maybe something else different could be beneficial.
Yeah. Olsen comes back this week. Hopefully, I'll get Freeman back. So I think things are looking up for me.
All right, man.
Hopefully.
I hope so, dude.
Keep it going. Although I'm on a little 2-game losing skid myself.
You're on a skid.
So next comes Colin, who just beat me.
Solid score with some points on the bench there, man.
Yeah.
Solid score with some points on the bench, man. The Juju Smith-Schuster, a little bit of an underperformance, but even with that being said, he has Morris on the bench, and maybe he could be getting some more looks.
Yeah,
this is a solid team with some depth.
I would say Diggs is his biggest problem, though, because Diggs hasn't put up a good score in a little while now, I believe.
Well, it is hard because there were some weeks, Tamala, where he was just crushing it.
Oh.
And I don't follow Stephon Diggs' weekly statistics, but I am going to say that there were some weeks that, man, he was incredible.
Yeah, but I want to say that was the first couple, like the first 4 weeks of the season.
Okay.
He's kind of dealt with an injury since then, and he's been consistent but not spectacular.
All right, I accept that. I'm.
And like we said, a big thing with Colin is if Tyrod remains quarterback, that only helps Clay.
And I think that you're ultimately going to find that he probably will.
Next is Michael, and you can see Michael is ranked number 3. Our other tie. Look.
Listen, his record is really good. He's eking out wins, and I'm just going to say that I can't move. At first I was one of the ones who's saying I can't move away from the total score. Now I am saying that the record is what matters, and the reason I'm doing this is because of how playoff implications go from here. Michael Thomas could very well have a bye week.
Yeah, and he's got some good depth on his bench.
Absolutely. This was a tough week for him, and he still pulled out a win. But that's kind of what we've been discussing, the fact that he manages to get wins, but he's one of our more active players on the waiver wire and with pickups and drops.
So, all right, moving on. He is tied with Rich, who, again, Rich had the high score of the week. Rich makes a big move up. We'll see in a little bit. Antonio Brown went crazy, but the rest of his scores weren't, particularly. I think Miller only looks to increase his value. Foreman had 2 touchdowns, which I guess, if it was going forward, Miller would have those now with Foreman being out for the year.
Yes.
Jackson has looked better with Fitzmagic. He has the volume. He just can't. Everyone says
he doesn't seem to get a whole bunch of looks in the end zone, which is a concern as well.
Yeah, and then Stills. If Matt Moore plays, Stills is wonderful.
And I do want to clarify that, although Brown, and you're going to say to yourself, well, he went off, and this is one of the things with Brown is over the past maybe 3 weeks, Brown has not been doing that well. In week 80 he had a 9.5, then he went on the bye, and then he has 6.2. And what I'm saying is not that you could expect 37 points, but just the fact that I expect more than 6 or 9 from Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
And when during that time, Rich was kind of on a skid.
Oh, yeah. His team goes as Brown goes.
Yep. And, it's not a terrible one to go with. As of now, he has the most points as any wide receiver.
Yeah. And, Marquise Lee did not have a great game. But,
he's had solid ones.
And he's got some solid players on his bench. With Hill now. But moving
Yeah,
on.
I don't see that as a problem. Okay, let's bring it to this one.
Angie's 2. She was ranked number 1 last week. You ranked her higher than me, as we'll see. I think she should be down considerably. I think that when her team plays well, she has the opportunity to put up a high score, and she has, I believe, 3 times.
Yes, is that probably more than anyone else? Well, I mean, and this week is a problem. And let's not pay any attention. The one thing that I think we have to discount is the Dak score. I mean, I think Dak Prescott, although I understand he's very young, I think you play Dak Prescott in general every week.
But even the Ertz, like the 1.8, like he is, I believe, the second or third highest scoring tight end in fantasy this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Ertz plays a down game. Prescott has a down game. The biggest concern is what was brought up earlier is the situation with Shepard going out and not putting someone in for him.
Yes.
Something off the waiver wire. Something. Give me something. Flex him out. Put Austin Hooper in. And I understand that you're going to say, well, that wouldn't give you any more points. But my concern is the fact that it slipped through. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly how I feel, and I think it's in the teams with players on bye. I think she needs to start looking towards the playoffs, making moves for the future rather than just this week.
Yeah, and like I said, it is important that it's available on. So we're in the age of information right now. It is easy to find it. So what are we saying with Jake here?
Look, I mean, I've ranked him as the number 1 team. He has one of the best kickers in the game who only put up a 1.
He had a lot of bye weeks too. Yeah.
I think he's the scariest team to play right now.
Yes. Okay, I agree with that. I'll give it to you. You know what, Tamal? You've done a good job convincing me. I would be now that I look into it, and I do have my reasons for putting Angie ahead of them, just because she's ahead of them as far as the bye week is concerned, which I really think matters. But if you ask me to say which team do I think is straight up better, I would say Jake's.
All right, moving on. All right, so this is the ranking breakdown. Of course, JT didn't rank, and no one else wanted to do a guest rank. We were pretty close, except for you had Angela 1. I ranked her 5th.
Okay, you could convince me. You could convince me right now to move her down to a 2. I understand. I don't like the Shepard thing. I do like how she's ahead in that bye week. This even goes in the real NFL and real football. There's very little difference in percentage between the number 1 team and the number 2 team. As soon as you go to number 3, it drops by about 30 points.
Yeah. Look, you had Colin 6th. I had him 2nd. Honestly, Jake and Colin are the 2 teams I would not want to match up against.
All right, I understand that. I also had to look at where it was for playoff rankings as well, though.
Yeah. Rich makes the biggest jump. He moves up 4 spots. Brian and Michael also move up 2 spots. I drop 3 spots, putting up the 3rd highest score.
And you know what is funny here, Matt, is that there really isn't that much sandbagging here. I mean, I ranked you 5 and you ranked yourself 6.
Yeah. I mean, look, but see, Scarano, you're just understanding, you're looking in the record now rather than just the score, where I've been looking at that all year. I've been putting up good scores. Bad luck or just the way it goes, I haven't been getting the wins.
I think there's been some bad luck, and I do think that has happened, including myself.
It is what it is. Joelle drops 2 spots. Casey drops 2 spots.
I mean, I'm sorry
Um,
to say they both had took a little bit of a loss. They kind of have it coming. All right, Matt, this is an interesting screen right here.
I, I'm still in the lead, 2, followed by Colin with 1323. Is actually Ange with 1251, and then you have Jake at 1222.
And here's what I'm going to say about this. Let's just take a quick look here at, I mean, you're ahead by 60 points. It doesn't sound like a lot per week, but a lot of times that's enough to give you the win. Certainly, you could have used some of those points this past week,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, I mean, listen, man, I'll tell you this. You're pretty well getting yourself into position to at least be in the playoffs.
But now you take a look at, Jake, Colin, myself, Brian. We would all be everyone to except for Ange,
Yes.
as far as points. Um, so I don't know. I don't know exactly how it is with, if we play a balanced schedule or not. I
And I will
believe this
say
was
this, Matt, Ange's total points there factored into my decision as well.
yeah. Look, I want to say this was the second time I played Colin. I want to say.
Yeah.
Um, I'm playing you, which is second time I've played you.
Yes.
Um, I think that might help too, because if we're playing the same teams in our division more than once, that kind of Division One's a
It could
stronger division.
separate you and give you more division wins. It is somewhat of a concern, in looking at these divisions and the fact that they were just drawn out of a hat. It concerns me a little bit.
Yeah.
There used to be a little bit more rhyme and reason behind them. We used to have those who worked at Boone Trail and those who didn't. And at this point, now that nobody's there, I think maybe we could reconsider something else.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's fair how we do it. I mean,
Oh,
I
I
don't,
think
I
it's
don't.
completely fair. I agree with you completely. I mean, there's nothing more fair than pulling names out of a hat. I'm just saying, like, maybe it would be a better way to make it more. Maybe fair isn't the word. Maybe equitable is a better word that I'm looking for it to be.
Yeah. But then again, like you never know. You never exactly know
We could redraw the things, and all of a
what.
sudden, I could be in first place. I'm not trying to say that's the reason for my downfall of my team.
Yeah.
But it
Let's
is some
go up.
matchups.
Yeah, let's do some matchups. First, we got JT taking on Rachel. Do you have the spread on this?
Hold on here. I'm getting it right now. We have JT taking on Rachel. Excellent. Yes, I have JT up as a prediction of 118 to Haley's 111. It seems pretty fair. If you look at their scores from last week, interestingly enough, it's pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, you know what we didn't even talk about?
What's that?
JT played Jake Elliott, and Elliott went out in the first half with a concussion.
That could have
He
changed it right there, my friend.
Yeah, and I guess P Ryan's listed as questionable.
Okay. He has a couple
Look,
guys on his bench. I think, listen, I think if you look at their scores just from last week, and if we're going to say that something like this were to happen again, you would think that it's going to be a close matchup.
yeah. Let's take a quick minute. Just as a reminder, Thursday is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
But there's 3 games on Thursday. I love Thanksgiving games. I don't like that they've added the night game, even though it's been going on for 10 years now.
It makes the teams less prepared. It makes the offense more vanilla.
But
injuries are increased as well.
I try and stay away from the Thursday night games. Harder to do when there's 6 teams playing. But so just be aware of that and something to consider.
And I mean, you try to stay away from them as much as you can, but if one of your studs is going, you got to play him.
Yeah.
Next
moving
matchup.
Moving on, we got Casey taking on Colin.
Casey's been on a skid lately. We have a 8-point spread right here. Um, the Case Keenum thing is a little bit of a situation with him, and I don't believe Winston is coming back. Maybe keep an eye on that waiver wire for Colin to make a move.
Both these teams, two defenses. Casey's got two. Look, we're done with the buys. I don't know why anyone would keep an extra defense, extra kicker on their team.
Yeah, maybe that will be reflected on the waiver wire this week.
We'll see. I think Casey still has a couple moves he needs to make. His big thing is, does he keep on rolling with Witten? I mean, I know he's a big Cowboys fan.
It's a homer pick. Pick.
It hasn't paid off in 2 years.
Well, homer. What's the next matchup we have here, Matt?
Good one. With Jake taking on Brian.
I think Brian's team is still solid. Like we said, his flex position's a little iffy with Elliott out. It is predicting Jake. It has Jake up now by 16. I would think Jake is going to win. I'm sure Brian is probably going to bench every player on his team now that I said it. Look, I just don't see him taking this one without a little bit of Ezekiel Elliott magic, and he doesn't have that this week.
No, I mean, Kirk Cousins up against the Giants.
It depends which Giants we're going to see. Last week, they managed to shut down Kansas City.
Dez Bryant on, say, play your Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
you don't say that about the Lions for some reason.
Look, I'm gonna openly say it. I'm hoping Brian wins.
I understand your perspective on that one. Oh, yeah.
All right. Moving on, we have Joel on Rich.
You have Dalton playing the Browns, which you think would be favorable matchup for her. This one really does have Rich up by quite a bit. The thing is, Rich had a really big win last week. See if he can continue it. What's your take, Tamala?
Yeah, I don't think either of them have set their teams for the week.
Okay. And like we said, and it is one of the things, it's just like we said, as Antonio Brown goes, is kind of how Rich's team goes. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. But that is how it's going to go.
Yeah. The only thing that I worry about with Rich's team is Stafford, who's played very well on Thanksgiving, going up against Minnesota.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup. Who else does he have, though?
Doesn't have anybody.
Now that's it, man. I'll tell you this. If there's no one on the waiver wire good enough to play over
him. Maybe.
All right, we'll see.
All right. Next, we got Angela taking on the Michael Thomas.
All right. This is actually, it is a battle of the top two. My concern is you're looking at Angie's team right now. It has her predicted at 91, but that has 2 zeros in the mix. Now, I do see some players on her bench she could just simply plug in there, which would bring her up to a competitive level, let's say. Does she go on the waiver wire and consider getting anybody?
Look, I mean, I think she needs to. I would move Robert
Would be a week
Woods.
I would take a role on a backup or somebody who may, a guy's out or something to that extent.
Yeah,
in one of those flex positions.
Like, her backups have value if someone gets hurt. But, I mean, Gio Bernard's not going to do anything. Hooper, now that Ertz is back and he's healthy, he's just too inconsistent, and she needs a little bit more consistency.
Well, and that's where those zeros are coming in. I'm just curious to see what'll happen there. And Michael Thomas, I'll tell you this, man. Listen, you only predicted a 109. Here's what I'll say: your Panthers do come back. It certainly helps you, and you've managed to work wonders on the waiver wire and just picking up guys.
If he finds anything else out about Benjamin, if he'll slide Benjamin into one of his flex spots.
I mean, he's been a disappointment since he's been with the Bills. So I mean, meh.
3 weeks.
Say that again, Matt.
I mean, come on, you gotta give him a little bit more time.
Ajayi started off right away. Now
Different
time
position.
for the matchup of the week here, Tamala.
All right. Yeah, I'm taking on you, Scarano.
Listen, man, a couple more moves are going to be made with my team right here before all is said and done. But listen, dude, you're a stronger team than me. I fully admit it. I'm not even willing to bet a school lunch on this one, and that's a first.
Look, like I said, I hope I get Freeman back. I hope I get Olsen this week. And I would like to see Fuller come back too.
Be nice, man. It would be nice. Your Fuller one would be huge, dude. Huge.
Well, no, I'm not
Well,
playing.
now with Deshaun gone, maybe not.
But
Tomorrow, I look for you to have a big win this week. I'll, of course, play and make my moves and everything like that. But I understand I'm out of all playoff contention and won't be throwing any games.
So it'll be interesting. All right. Well, that is the preview for this coming week. You want to go off with your hot take?
I'll take this one away, my friend. I don't think it'd be right as a Bills fan if I didn't address what happened this week with the 5 interceptions of Peterman. See, the Bills, they got desperate. They're a lot like the cute girl at the dance who decided to do the Macarena with the school herb. This is because, Buffalo, and the cute girl, you have low self-esteem. You're interesting. You're actually pretty good. But you don't realize it, and you sure don't act like it. So I have one question to ask you. Who's next? You going to stick with Tyrod? Are you going to go to the dance with the herb again? Oh, I don't think so. I think you usually go with the bad boy. And Bills, please don't grab the bad boy of college. Baker Mayfield seems to like him grab himself a lot, but Bills, you don't need him. That's right. A lot of NFL prediction sites have the Bills taking Baker Mayfield as their first-round draft pick. Before you do, let's check out his report card that he got. We have a great arm, the it factor. He's mobile, but let's not forget a couple other things. Little trouble with the police. He's short and makes rude gestures. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second here. I'm so sorry. It looks like I've grabbed the wrong report card. I'll have to put that in the dog dish right here. We've all seen this script before. Hey, Bills, get back on the dance floor and finish the Cupid Shuffle. Signing off.
All right.
You like it, Tamal. Signing off here, buddy. I'll see you later.
All right. Have a good one. And that is the episode of the Fantasy Trail. Again, 3 games Thursday. First one starting at 12:30. Good luck. Happy Thanksgiving. And for all of you traveling, safe travels. We'll see you next week.